This was Mahi Mahi Resort last year, and needless to say, its Splatoon 3 incarnation has been universally agreed to be one of the worst maps in the game. Personally though, that title goes to Brightwater Springs for me, but that's a story for another day. To say that Mahi Mahi got a massive downgrade would be a bit of an understatement, which is why it was very surprising that on one Friday the 13th, alongside the announcement for Splatoween, it was announced that Mahi Mahi Resort would receive a layout makeover, and only a couple of days ago, that map has been re-released and, well, different. So how is Mahi Mahi Resort now compared to how it was at launch? Well, before I get on with the topic, I want to address two things. Firstly, I'm not exactly an expert on map design in Splatoon, but I can learn and understand what makes it work or not, so do feel free to correct me on any mistakes as I go along through this video. And secondly, this is all in the perspective of someone who has mostly played Turf War, so keep that in mind as well. With all that out of the way, let's find out if Mahi Mahi's rework is worth the trouble, or we should close it down for many violations like Inkling and Octoling casualties. It's important to start things off with discussing the changes that Mahi Mahi Resort got from Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 3 first, as it'll help understand why the version from 3 flopped as hard as a fish on land. Right from the get-go, the entire layout of the stage has been completely overhauled. Where in Splatoon 1 the stage is massive with many islands to hop around in, the third game in comparison is much more narrow and smaller, with there being only one way to midpoint rather than multiple found in its original form. Granted, the one-way layout thing isn't exactly an exclusive problem to this map, as the majority of Splatoon 3's maps also have this issue, to all of its faults. But even still, it causes this map to feel a lot more chaotic early on than it would have otherwise, as players simply rush to get to mid as fast as possible and potentially dominate the rest of the match, made even easier since midpoint is small in Mahi Mahi. And if the opposing team dominates that spot early, well, good luck trudging past spawn. So moving on from that, the original Mahi Mahi Resort has a gimmick where after 90 seconds has passed, the water level suddenly drops, opening up new paths that weren't there before. This is one of the mechanics that I find pretty interesting, as it opens up new routes for players to take. While this mechanic thankfully isn't removed in 3, it feels a lot more underwhelming in comparison, mainly due to the smaller scope of the map. It's still an approach to get to midpoint, but like, if the opposing team gets to there first and dominates about a majority of the map, then what's the point? In general, Mahi Mahi Resort in Splatoon 3 is a shell of its former self with a smaller layout that both causes the main mechanic to be whatever, and the match being chaotic with teams rushing to mid and dominating at the first possible opportunity. At least the other 3 Splatoon 1 maps don't nearly have it as bad as Mahi Mahi Resort got in comparison. I mean, maybe Hammerhead Bridge or even Flounder Heights in your case, but still. Now that we've caught up to speed on the fascinating Mahi Mahi Resort lore, let's bring ourselves back to the present and take a look at it now, a few days after it got its well-needed redesign. Is it good? Is it worse? Well, it may not live up to the same standards that Splatoon 1 provided, but I can safely say with confidence that this new version is a hell of a lot better than what we got from launch. In terms of the changes, there's a decent amount that went into this redesign, so like the madman that I am, I'm gonna list them all. For one, the spawn area surprisingly got pushed back compared to before, which caught me by surprise. I actually didn't know about that until making this video. The central area got significantly wider, height-wise anyway. There's more ground available after the water levels dropped, plus a new island's been added, so that's pretty cool. Grates are present everywhere, including midpoint, inkable columns have been added, and there's an ink rail that leads to spawn. Wow, that's a good amount of changes. It is honestly astounding how different this version feels compared to before, even if some of the additions are smaller in scope. I especially enjoy the newly added columns and ink rail. It just flows pretty nicely in my opinion. While again, the rework isn't close to the OG incarnation, it's certainly a major step up from the one we were stuck with for about a year now. Does that make Mahi Mahi Resort a good stage now in Splatoon 3? Your mileage may vary with this one. Personally, I've had more enjoyment with this rework than I initially thought I would, even if it isn't great still. I'd say it went from F tier to C tier, maybe. An improvement that, while it may or may not address the problems it set originally, makes the overall experience feel a lot more manageable than before. And that's my thoughts on the rework for Mahi Mahi Resort. Overall, I'm very pleased to see this map getting improved upon from its initial debut, even if it took about a year for it to get the rework it truly needed. Hopefully in the near future, other maps can get reworked into something great, or worse, it's hard to tell. But anyways, that's all I really have to say. What are your guys' thoughts on Mahi Mahi Resort now? Do you think it's an improvement or worse? Let me know down in the comments below. Considering joining my Discord server if you'd like, and as always, remember that Stu cares about you.